Welcome to episode 20 of Soar and Pair, Why Not Together?
Hi guys.
Hi everybody. Remember, Soar and Pair is we're soaring together to explore new adventures while inspiring others to create their own. And so here we are in week 20. Here we are the first day in August. What do you know?
Yep. Welcome to August.
I know. Golly, the summer is going so fast.
It really is.
And yet it's going so slow. I was telling someone at work the other day, yesterday seems like a week ago, but a month ago seems like 2 days ago. It's really weird. Time is just
It's warped.
all
Yeah,
over the place.
it really is. It's kind of warped and different right now.
Well, time isn't the only thing that's warped.
Hey!
I mean, well, I wasn't looking at you meaning you. Everything is warped right now. You know?
Yeah, I know.
Like warp speed, Scotty, or whatever Captain Kirk says in Star Trek.
Always going forward because we can't find reverse.
Oh yeah, she's a Dr. Demento fan, so for those of you who may or may not have known Dr. Demento in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. Star Trekking.
Star Trekking,
Across the universe.
always moving forward.
Because we can't find reverse.
There you go. So a little shout out to Dr.
Basically.
Demento. Yes.
Yeah. That's the condensed version.
I don't know how we got there. I think I said warp time
Yeah.
and
We digress.
just a little bit. But today, and I was supposed to bring up the subject today, so the subject we're going to talk about today is energy vampires suck.
Yep.
So we will talk about that after we do an update for the week.
Yep.
So let's go there.
So, you start. What happened this week?
Well, I got up every day and went to work.
Good job.
Yeah, I know.
Attaboy.
No, musically, I had the privilege of having a young man who plays the violin. He's played in, we played a few concerts together in 2018, 2019.
He's so good.
His name is Grant Baltasar. He may not be watching this, but shout out to Grant. So he's just this incredible violinist that has played some original music with me. In fact, you can see him on my YouTube channel play a few of the original songs I wrote in the Mosaic CD.
My songs.
Yes, her songs. He came over Thursday night. Originally, his mom and him asked me to play at a graduation ceremony, this piece he's been working on all year. And of course, with COVID, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So they asked,
Disappointing.
so they asked if they could come over, and we recorded, he and I doing this nocturne by Chopin that was published posthumously. How do you say that? Posthumously?
Yeah, that's it.
Posthuman after
Post-human.
he.
Well, yeah.
But it's a posthumous piece that was adapted for violin and piano, and so we did we worked through it together a few times, and we did a recording, and I will actually post that with his permission on my YouTube channel. I think you guys will really enjoy what this young man can do with the violin.
He's
It's
amazing.
Really all about him, and I was just the background, so it was really fun connecting with him that night, and I hope to do some in the future, because he and I just connect. It's just one of those things where he has that ability and talent, although he's not necessarily going to major in music.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
he should always play, because he has just an incredible gift.
I think he will.
And I didn't, I ended up not getting a degree in music, and yet that's still such a huge part of my life, so you can still make it work.
Exactly. I think he's smart because he's working both sides of the brain.
Right. And then my other update is yesterday. I think I've told this to all of you before, but I work long hours during the week for my job. Yeah, she's like, no. And then on Saturday, most Saturdays, I go tune pianos in Pinal County, usually drive 150 to 200 miles and do 4 or 5 pianos. I had a very long day yesterday, but my last stop was with a good friend, Corey Anna Lee. Corey is the art director of the Combs Performing Arts Center. So she knows a lot of musical acts, and I went to tune her 103-year-old piano.
That's crazy.
That she has not tuned that I tuned for her probably 6-7 years ago. She moved, and so I got to tune it at the end of the day. And then I didn't realize that she was live streaming me while I was playing a couple Scott Joplin pieces and I think part of For Elise. So that's on Facebook if you wanna watch me playing a 100-year-old piano that I just tuned.
That's awesome.
Which is a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing that, and
You get to see some of the coolest pieces of art. These pianos, you get to see a lot of really cool ones, don't you?
I was talking to her that I'm pretty sure because it's a tall upright grand, and those were what they used to have in the silent movies. So they'd have a pianist, and I think they created these tall upright grands so that it wouldn't be in the way like a grand piano of the stage, but yet be big enough and loud enough to play that kind of old time silent movie music, instead of So it's really cool to work on those old pianos and connect with cool people like Corey. So shout out to you, Corey, if you're watching. So it's been a good week.
Good.
What
and you got your window fixed too, didn't you?
Oh yeah, last week we talked about something that broke my sunroof window, but I did get that fixed, so I don't have to borrow your car anymore. You're welcome.
Yay. Like I'm using it, but yeah.
Yeah. So what about you? How'd your week go?
It was good. I've been busy. I have been doing the intuitive readings, and I've done a few this week of the combination readings too, where I did the intuitive reading as well as the energy work, and it worked out really well. So it's exciting. It's picking up, and there's still appointments available. If you go to my business page, Sandy Sorensen, you'll see me there, and you can just schedule your own appointment.
Right, so it's connected to our Soren Pair Facebook page, and it's Sandy Sorensen. What is it? Intuitive counselor,
master healer.
Still trying to.
But if you look for my name, you'll find me. Yeah.
Right. So.
It's been a good week.
Yeah, I mean, I think this opportunity. I was talking to somebody yesterday about how you're transitioning from being a nurse, 40 hours a week, and you're still doing that, but yet taking all that medical knowledge and then helping somebody on the more intuitive realm. It's got to be cool. Got to be an interesting transition, because I know you work during the day as a nurse and then you get these appointments in the evening. That's got to sort of.
I have to take a little bit of a break between work and doing this work. I have to just decompress and do a meditation and just kind of quiet my mind, and then I'm ready to jump into these readings, which to me, like we talked about, it just doesn't feel like work. I get to connect with people one-on-one in a more intimate way, and I just love that. Yeah.
Right, and it's taking your nursing work to another level.
It is. It's different. It's similar in some ways, but it's different.
Right.
Yeah, I'm still using those skills of connecting with people, but it's just more intimate and less clinical.
Which is always good, because I think that allows you to kind of take that leap off the edge, because being in the medical field, you have a license and there's only so much you can say, and so
professionally.
Yes, and so you have to be careful where here you can kind of break down those borders and just allow whatever comes through you to help that person.
And I'm not giving medical advice per se. I would never tell somebody not to, connect with their doctor or do the things they need to do. It's just in addition to what they're doing with their doctor.
Right.
So,
Very cool. Very cool.
It's been a good week. I'm excited.
So let's get into our subject.
Okay.
Energy vampires. What is an energy vampire?
Good question. What is it?
Well, that is a really good question.
Do tell.
No, but we're asking each other. Nobody wants to answer. No, energy vampires, it sounds like a dramatic thing, but it's really people who drain your emotional energy or psychically mentally drain that from you.
Yeah, it can be mental, emotional, psychic. The best way for me to tell if I'm around an energy vampire is if when I'm with them, if every time I'm with them I walk away just completely drained, or if I dread being around them because they tire me out.
The kind
really
of
good clues.
the kind of person that walks towards you and you're like, oh my gosh, no.
You got to steel yourself for it. Yeah.
Yes, like brace for it. And I think what happens a lot of times, and energy vampires can be anybody. It could be your spouse, although I'm not definitely going to say right now you are not an energy vampire.
Thank you.
But it can be somebody close to you. It can be a family member. It could be somebody at work, a friend that you know. And what happens is they usually take advantage of your willingness to listen, your compassion. So if you're a bleeding heart person who wants to save everybody, you are like you have a big target
Got a
your
bullseye
back.
on
Yes,
your back. Yeah.
on your back or on, in your head.
Yeah, not that you don't want to, remain open and kind to each other, but you also have to, remember to set those boundaries because it does make you a target.
Yeah, and I want to go back to what you said about, so if you're meeting somebody for the first time, what's a good way to like gauge if this person could be, and it's not just black and white, right? People are all different levels of this.
Right.
It's not so, oh, that's a vampire, and that's not. It's not like
Right.
it's not like Vampire Diaries or Twilight, right?
Twilight. I like it.
So we're not going there.
If they sparkle, yeah.
Yes, but really, to take the vampire out of it, it can really be anybody. So how can you tell when you first meet somebody? Then we'll go in and talk about different types of qualities.
If they're constantly talking over you, trying to one up you, right? That would be one way. Just trying to monopolize the conversation, making it all about them.
Right. Even before though you hear them speak, isn't it?
Oh, I see where you're going.
Yeah.
There's a feeling. Yeah,
Right.
You're right. Before somebody even speaks, you have an energetic connection. You're walking towards me and I know you're coming to talk to me. I've got that energetic connection. I can kind of feel you already.
Right.
Like we were saying, if somebody's coming towards you and you're like, oh, yeah, you can kind of feel it before anybody even says their first word.
Right. So even if it's a stranger that you have not met yet, or somebody new, I think all of us have that kind of we have that
barometer.
We do have that intuition, and a
Sure.
lot of us don't pay attention to it.
Well, what a gut feeling, they call it that for a reason. I'm very visceral that way. I will feel it in my gut. When something's wrong, I get that knot. Look at me going like this. I've got my hand over my belly. It feels like a rock in the pit of my stomach. Like that.
Right. And I think it's important people need to pay attention to that intuition more, because it really does help alert you to the fact
Yes.
that you're in the presence of somebody who whether they don't always have to be mean about it. It could just be that they're very needy and they're looking to
Manipulate.
yes, because I think that's the key here. All the qualities we're going to talk about, it's one way or another manipulating you to help build themselves up.
Whether it's sucking your energy, hence vampire, or trying to build themselves up. Either way, you're right. They're trying to puff themselves up to feel better.
Right. And one of the main qualities that I think these different types of energy vampires have is that they never take accountability for anything.
Right.
They're never responsible.
Yeah. It's always somebody else. The victim, the perpetual victim is what they are, right? So they're looking for somebody to fix them and hold them up.
Right. Which is, again, another sign. So it's not only how you feel, but if every time that person is saying, well, I don't understand why this happened. It always happens to me, and yet it's never my fault.
It's not my fault. This is just, I've just got the worst luck. Yeah.
Right, and you know, after about the 10th time, you'd think, you know, you're influencing this result in some way or another.
Well, if it's always, yeah, if it's always somebody else, eventually it's you, right? And that's really the thing is energy vampires, I don't believe, usually know that they are.
Right. Well, of course not. I think the lack of self-awareness is huge. And another quality is they're always surrounded by drama, or they're always in the middle of some sort of drama.
Right.
It's almost like they like to find themselves as, you know, this is the latest thing. Guess what happened to me?
Exactly, and when there is no drama, they're the kind of people that you'll find stirring that shit pot because they don't know how to be without it.
That was another Sandyism, by the way, stirring the shit pot.
Those are the ones that have to lick the spoon.
Somehow I just had a real sour taste in my mouth. Sour, gross taste in my mouth. But yeah, you're right. And again, because they don't take responsibility, because they're surrounded by drama, again, they're looking for you to fix.
To make them feel better, if even for a minute.
Right.
It's like they plug into you because you feel better. You make them feel better for even a minute. And they walk away feeling better momentarily, but you are left feeling just completely wrung out.
Well, and it's almost like your attention to their drama becomes a drug for them.
That's a good point.
You know, it becomes a way for them to feel like, okay, I'm attention seeking. I'm drawing on, I'm telling this story, dramatic story.
Right.
And I'm getting the oohs and the ahs and the I'm sorry's, and I think that just feeds that vampire nature of like, yeah, this is exactly what I want. And not only that, but I'm hoping to find another story tomorrow or next week to really,
amp it up.
Yes, and guess what happened? You won't believe usually when somebody's like getting excited about something not so good that happened to them, that's probably another real good.
That's a good indicator. Yeah. And I'm sure we've all known these people in our family, and with our friends, acquaintances, coworkers. They're everywhere.
Right.
If not us at times too.
Well, one of the things I think that Sandy and I aren't saying is that I think as we're talking about all these qualities, we would be just as guilty if we're saying that's everybody else, not us. I think all of us have these tendencies.
Of course.
We all have these tendencies to feed off of a dramatic thing.
And really, the key is, can you recognize it when it's you?
That's the rub, isn't it?
It really is.
And don't you hate it when your partner points that out to you? She's really good at that. Don't you think you're being a little dramatic, Jim?
Dramatic much?
Yeah, she asked me that way. But, I think part of this recognizing in others is really seeing the tendency in yourself as we go through this. So I think I wanted to pause a minute and say this isn't just pointing the finger at all these other dramatic people.
No, it's how to recognize it so that we can not do that to others or accept it, right?
Yes.
How to recognize it.
And if you continue to allow it in others, then I think it becomes something you start to expect for yourself.
Yeah, you become a doormat and you expect it, and very much so. And people who fall into this, I think, like you were saying earlier, without the drama and stirring that pot, it's almost like I don't know who I am kind of thing. Without it.
Right. They begin to define themselves. Another quality is one-upmanship.
Yes.
So you're telling this story, you're like, oh, wow, today this great thing happened to me, and then they're like, well, you know what?
I did better. Yeah.
Something even more amazing happened.
Yeah. They always have a story that where they either are way better, or if you've got something going on that's like not so good, then theirs is way worse. No matter what, both sides of the spectrum, it's always a one-upmanship.
Yes, and so that, in my opinion, again, is trying to make yourself look better at the expense of somebody else.
Well, once again, it's about redirecting the attention back to them over and over again, which really, people that can't show compassion or empathy for others and is always just self-absorbed, really, that's kind of the sign of a psychopath.
Now we're going to psychopath.
Just saying.
That's funny. But it reminds me of the phrase, and I joke with it all the time. I'm like, well, it's my world. You're just living in it.
Right?
You
We're
know?
all just living in it.
That's right. So you're in my world now, folks. It's Jim's world. Wayne's world, Wayne's world.
Excellent. Party on.
You took the two phrases I remember from Wayne's World, but it's true. I think that kind of self-absorbed, it's my world, so you're in it, and I'm the center of attention, or I'm the center stage. So of course, and that leads to the next sign, being the martyr.
Dun, 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 dun.
Exactly. Dramatic music. We're talking about silent movies, and
Yeah.
dun, the piano goes. That martyr again is, why me?
Woe is me. Why me? Yeah.
Can you believe it happened to me again? Kind of thing.
Mhm.
Or basically, life is unfair. And here's the latest example of how I'm going to prove to you that life is unfair and you need to feel sorry for me.
Right.
And I hope, many times I tell you the story, you're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, that's horrible. You must have felt so bad. And,
Yeah.
I think sometimes by trying to be empathetic, we end up reinforcing the
Enabling.
the patheticness of that person and their story, and
Yeah.
enabling. Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. But then too, here comes the manipulation again. It gets stronger, and it can get to the point of bullying, right?
Oh yeah.
Just very manipulative to the point of bullying, because if you don't, it'll constantly ramp up, and if you don't respond appropriately, it just keeps getting bigger until they do get a response.
Right. And
That's an extreme end.
well, true, but if you think about family members or people that you're close with, I think one of the more subtle ways of, again, manipulating and sucking the energy out of you is guilt trips.
Yeah.
Yeah. You owe me, or it's your obligation to sit down with me for, this period of time, or spend more time with me. Why don't you ever answer my text, and you're too busy for this or for that? You ever had that friend that gets angry because time goes by and everybody's busy. Time goes by, and then they're like, how could you?
Yeah. You neglected me.
Where you have a really, really good friend you may not speak to for years, but then when you do connect with them, it's like no time has passed and you're just enjoying the moment, instead of, why have you let a month go by without responding to me,
Oh wow.
Sandy? That kind of,
Too needy. Yeah.
that yes, needy is probably a really good, but any kind of guilt trip, and unfortunately that usually happens with our closest friends.
Mm-hmm.
In a relationship that isn't, I would say, healthy, then that's where that codependency comes in.
Okay.
You need to, don't you think?
Yeah. Well.
Okay.
My closest friends, no, because my closest friends wouldn't do that to me.
True. I think what I meant is it can happen
True.
with your dysfunctional
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
If you keep that, if you're attracting those type of people. But you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're attracting those kind of people, then yes. And really, I guess it's about checking in where we are,
Mhm.
like you were alluding to,
Right.
like you were saying, because if we're allowing that, if that's the friends that we're attracting, then we need to check in with ourselves, and maybe we need to, it doesn't mean you have to get new friends, but you maybe need to reestablish your boundaries.
Which goes back to the beginning about setting those boundaries,
Mhm.
right? And I think it always comes back to where you are.
Absolutely. Always.
If you have 10 energy vampires in your close circle of friends, as you alluded and corrected me, then maybe it's you that's asking for that, or
Right.
there's something in you that's pulling that
Hmm.
to you. So I'm talking about all these types of qualities. So what's the result of all that? Nurse, RN, Sandy, what happens when,
Yeah. Count them down. Well, depression. You can get very depressed, especially when you realize that maybe you've been doing it to others and that you're bringing this on to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That can lead to depression. Not to mention you're so drained and fatigued that in itself can lead to a depression.
Right.
And isolation. It can also lead to, in extreme cases, it can lead to heart disease. And what was the other one that we were thinking?
I don't remember.
Heart disease, anxiety, depression,
Right.
all these things. And, it can lead to a lot of unhealthy habits, and the depression in itself is bad enough.
Right. Because I think and I will say as a person that, and both of us are this way, that really want to help somebody, if we're not aware of what's going on in the
I was
guise
thinking of that.
of trying to help somebody, you
Yeah.
end up actually taking on
Yes.
their emotional burden.
And I've been guilty of that. I've been guilty of that in my nursing career.
Right.
Working with hospice, of course. Just working in any realm, if you're a helper type person, then you open yourself up to that. You can still be open and helpful.
Right.
But if you don't establish those boundaries, I learned that one the hard way.
And how do you? So I mean, we talk about establishing boundaries, but how do you not? Because we can't turn off that helpfulness, right? That desire. You can't fix everybody. You can't,
And
fix the
some
world.
people can't. Yeah, some people legitimately have other things going on that they don't mean to be that way. They just, they have other things happening in their lives.
Right.
And so there's degrees to everything.
Right. It's not cut and dry, and
Yeah.
and we are not saying that, if someone that you really like, whatever, becomes an energy vampire, oh, stay away from them. They're horrible. They just could be going through a bad time. I think
Exactly
it-
my
it-
point.
yes.
Yes, thank you for clarifying. Exactly. There's a difference.
Right. So I think we get to the point where how do you do an exorcism of these
Holy
vampires?
water. Incantations and holy water.
So go to the local Catholic church and
Yeah.
get your holy water. No, I mean, and I know we've been talking about this, but let's sort of, so we've talked about the qualities and we've talked about the effects, but how can we truly have those boundaries set so that, and yet have that heart open, because
Right.
I don't think you want to shut down.
Right, exactly. And that's definitely the risk, right? So, once again, it's about establishing your boundaries, just recognizing where your hard line is.
Mhm.
If you're feeling drained, then you need to back up a little.
Or maybe learn to say no.
Learn to, well, exactly what I mean.
Yes.
Back up by saying no. Not allowing them to monopolize your time for 30 to 45, 60 minutes in a sitting. Maybe 15 minutes. I've got this much time for you. Okay, I'm done. I need to back off now.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Right. And if by telling them no, and then they're like, well, that wasn't very nice, or they start to use the guilt trip, I think that's
when you have to get more firm.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and however you choose to say it is really up to you, but establishing the firm boundary, and you can do it with kindness, and if that doesn't work, then yeah, you may have to get a little more firm.
Well,
but putting yourself first in this, I think, is really important, because if it's not healthy for you, you've got to cut that off.
and guarding your emotions, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that another thing?
Yeah.
Because you're somebody that wears her emotions, obviously.
Yes, right here. Yeah, and so I do have to guard it, or else I feel exhausted and drained, and then next thing you know, I'm getting headaches and I'm not sleeping, and whatever else is happening, I just take it on. So if you're a very empathic type person, then you do have to be more careful and guard yourself.
You do. And finally, if this person is toxic in your life and everything else, well then,
At worst case, you may have to cut it off.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're noticing a pattern that just isn't letting up, and this person is insistent that every time they're with you, they just won't listen to your boundaries and needs, if it's not a two-way street, because like we said, it's always about them, right? So if they just don't listen to reason,
Right.
then you may have to.
Right. And all this, and the way I look at all this is, what is it in me that
That
is,
needed this.
yes,
Yeah.
that needed this, and how can I step back and look at myself? And I think you're the same way. So how can we step back and look at ourselves to ensure that we're not unconsciously projecting out some of these qualities? Because I think that's the most, like attracts like. So if you're projecting out the quality of one-upmanship or martyrdom or drama, then most likely a lot of your friends or the people that you hang out with
are going to be that way.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so really it's about checking your own stuff at the door.
Awesome Sandyism to use. I didn't even think about that.
Check your shit at the door.
Yes, check it at the door, and then go into the partay.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No more than 2 carry-ons allowed, right?
Well, sometimes just the lighter the better. But yeah, so we had a quote here to sort of wrap this up that I think we really, really liked. And it says this: find your source of strength inside you, and no one outside you will be able to usurp your power.
Beautiful.
I like that word usurp, because it's really, are you giving your power away?
It sounds vampirish.
It does.
Slurp.
Well, like we
You
said,
slurp.
you slurp. So don't get a Slurpee, right? Because that's
Exactly.
the old 7-Eleven
The
Slurpee.
red ones. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, those were the best.
Yeah.
You get red tongue and red teeth and
Yeah.
everything. You gotta love the Slurpees.
Yeah.
But yes, don't hang around people that have Slurpee mouth. How about
Right.
that?
There you
For
go.
the- for the-
Slurpee mouth.
For the ending thought there. So, now we've talked about vampires. Let's switch to something fun, which is a Sandyism.
Okay.
I've still got some. So, we're going to continue this on. I mean, at one point I'm going to run out of material, but as you can tell, she does insert them into the conversation,
I do.
Like checking your stuff at the door and all that. So this one, and sometimes it's not the words, it's how she says it. So this one, I'm first going to say it without the tone, and then I'll let her say the tone. It's, what do you know? Okay, now you're like, what? So how does the Sandyism...
What do you know?
What do you know? Yeah.
And it's all one word.
Yeah. What do you know?
Yeah.
So what do you know, Sandy?
What do you know? It's usually pretty obvious.
Yeah.
What do you know?
Yeah. Yes, and the hand, by the way, can't see in the podcast, the hands go up too. So,
Yeah.
so that works really, really well.
It's usually, something that should have been obvious but wasn't for some reason. So,
What do you know? So we appreciate you hanging out with us, and we want you to remind you that, again, Soar and Pair Why Not Together on YouTube, you could see our faces. On the podcast, you can hear our voices.
Yeah.
And we'd like you to subscribe, bring comments to us. We appreciate the comments.
Yes, always.
And connect with us on Facebook, and then on the podcast, there's Spotify, there's iTunes, there's Stitcher, there's Overcast, Undercast, the podcast app, the Google Podcast. So you can certainly connect with us every week as we continue to, week by week, soaring together.
Yes, please subscribe, and like Jim said, leave us some comments. We're always happy to hear from you, and it's great seeing you every week. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
Bye.